Welcome to Q&A session number 1 on board Wilson during the 6th and final leg of the GLOBE40 race. Thank you so much for sending all the questions. It was a lot, so I picked the ones that most of the people asked. Okay, so let's go. First question, how big is Wilson? Wilson is a class 40, that means she's 40 feet long or 12 meters long. She is 4.5 meters wide, her draft is 3 meters, and her mast is about 19 meters high. And she weighs in total about 5 tons, and about 2 tons of that weight are just in the keel bar. Then the next question. Is Wilson a good boat to live on board, or do you give up a lot of comfort for racing? She's not a good boat to live on board. Most people would say she is very uncomfortable. For me, it's more comfortable than the boat that I had before, which was a Mini 650, which was no comfort at all. And here on Wilson we have bunks to sleep in. We have more space, and yeah, but she's still not very comfortable. So the toilet is a bucket, the kitchen is just a chat boil, like a camping gas cooker to boil water. We don't have a bathroom, so to wash yourself you also use a bucket, a different bucket than the toilet, of course. And yeah, you give up a lot of comfort on a racing boat like this. And we have beanbags on board, so that's also comfort, I would say. We don't have running water on board, we just have a little water maker that makes 5 liters per hour. And we have a little tap, and we have the heating on board. So you can make it quite comfortable, but for life on board I think it's not enough. It's really made for racing, so you take out everything you don't need and keep the boat as light as possible and to go as fast as possible. But she's a great boat. Next question. How do you sleep on board? I mentioned the bunks already. So this is a bunk. We have one on each side. And while we're sailing, we sleep on the high side when there's a lot of wind for the trim of the boat. And I'm going to show you how that works. It's sometimes not so easy to get into the bunk. Grab the handle. And then you can adjust the angle so you don't fall out of the bunk when she's heeling over or approaching. Very comfortable.
Poor Wilson just got squished.
Oh no. I'm sorry, Wilson. Alright. Next question. How many times has Wilson already made the Circumnavigation? It's the first for her. She did many Atlantic crossings already, but going around the world is a new thing for her as for us. So for all the 3 of us, it's the first. Next question. Do you ever become afraid when you are sailing? I would not say afraid, because we roughly know what we can expect, but we have a huge respect for the ocean and the wind and just the nature. So I think the only thing where I could become scared if I think too much about it is maybe hitting something like an unidentified floating object. That could be just some wood or a container, what you often hear about, or animals. So, but that is something that you can't really control. So you should not get too much into your head about that and think about it too much, because it just stresses you, and it's the only time where I could get scared a little bit. But yeah, it's nothing that you can control, so you just hope to be lucky. Next question. How often does the sea become too rough to sail? Which sea or area is the most dangerous? The sea can get quite rough. For example, right now we have approximately about 7-meter waves, but they are very long and big. But she copes very well with that, so you just have to reduce sails or change sails. Now we have 2 reefs in the main and the J1 up, so it goes very well. And you just have to adapt to the conditions. For example, upwind is quite rough for the material when there's big waves, so you maybe have to alter course a little bit just to save material and make it easier for yourself and the boat. But yeah, you can't get away from there, so you have to cope with the conditions you get anyway. You can also avoid areas. When you look at the forecast, you can just not go where it's the worst conditions and maybe take a detour. But so far it was always fine. We never had a situation in this race around the world that we were like, no, we cannot cope with that situation, so you just adapt to it. I don't think there's a most dangerous area somewhere in the world. It really depends on the conditions, but in general, the closer you get to land, the more dangerous it can get if there's bad conditions, or if the water becomes very shallow, like in Biscay or in the Bass Strait, what we encountered, there can suddenly be very big and chaotic waves. So, but it always depends on the conditions. So there's not one area where you would say it's especially dangerous or something. Next question is a food question. How do you keep enough food on board and keep it sealed and fresh? So we don't have much fresh food on board. We carry mostly freeze-dried food like this on board. This is our main food source. It gets very boring after 150 days at sea, to be honest. But it's super simple, it's super light, it's easy to store. And you just open the bag, you fill in a little bit of boiled water, wait 10 minutes, and it's a very good meal. We have lots of different brands on board, so it doesn't get too boring. And of course, before each leg we do some shopping and shop some fruits and snacks and fresh stuff, but it gets bad very quickly with all the humidity and everything. So our main food is freeze-dried food. Then a lot of people ask if we fish, if we catch fish. No, we don't. We are in a race, and you have to imagine everything you hang overboard is slowing you down. So if you just have a rope hanging overboard, it's really hard to pull it in again when you go fast because there's so much drag. And if we would fish, it would be not so good for our performance. And also we don't have a proper kitchen or anything to prepare the fish. So no, we don't fish in a race.
We catch lots of flying fish then.
Oh yeah, we catch a lot of flying fish. They come on board voluntarily. But we try to save them whenever it's possible. We throw them back into the sea. Next question is there an alternating watch system? Yes, there is. It is very different all the time between Jade and I, so it depends on how we feel. But in general, I would say we have we do 4 or 5 hours on and 4 or 5 hours off. So while Jade sleeps, I take care of the boat and everything, and the other way around when I sleep. So that works very well for us. Sometimes it's shorter, sometimes it's longer. It also depends on the conditions and how we feel. So if the person on watch is super tired after a short time, it makes no sense to stay awake. So we make shorter watches then, because the most important thing on board is that everyone feels good and that the boat sails as fast as possible. So we always have to be in a good mood. The next do you set an autopilot, and what happens if the sea and wind conditions change, or if it gets too rough for the autopilot? So the autopilot we set either on a wind angle or on a compass course. For example, now we're going downwind, we set it on a wind angle of 145 true wind angle, and so the autopilot only steers the boat. It doesn't mean that we don't have to do anything anymore. We have to take care that the autopilot can steer well, so we have to adjust the sails all the time. We have to change sails if it gets lighter, or also we have to change sails if it becomes rough. So we put smaller sails up or bigger sails up in order to have the autopilot steering properly. So you can tell immediately if something is not trimmed nicely because it doesn't steer well. So you have to take care of a lot of things. Also the trim on the boat itself, like stacking all the stuff that we have on board to the right side or to the front or to the back, depending on how fast we go and how much wind there is. It's very important on a boat like this. You can feel it immediately when something's off. Next question is about the routing and weather information. Is the routing and all weather information connected with a server giving you information of the best course, or are you deciding everything on your own? So, since we are in a race, we are not allowed to get any help from the outside, especially when it's about weather. So we are not allowed to have anyone on land sending us routing information or weather information or do the routing for us. So no, the routing is not connected to a server, because that would mean somebody else or something else would do the routing for us. We have everything on board. Like here we use the Adreno software, where everything is done on this computer, so nothing goes to anywhere else. We download the grid files, the weather grid files, from another software which is available to everyone, which is the important thing. So everything you receive must be able for other people to receive too. So you're not allowed to have a special source of weather information that is not accessible to anyone else. So everything happens here on this boat. All the decisions, all the routings, all the weather interpretation is all done just by us, because it's not allowed to get help from the outside. Then the last question, how do you get enough energy for all the electrical equipment on board? So we have three sources of energy, which is the hydro generator, which is charging in these conditions right now where we go downwind fast. We also have solar panels, but we definitely need more solar panels because they are great, but unfortunately we don't have enough on this boat. And if nothing of these two works, because we're either going too slow or it's overcast and no sunshine, we charge with the engine. The engine is sealed, so we cannot put it in forward gear, but we can always charge the batteries with it. So yeah, that's it for today. I hope I could answer your questions properly, and just keep the questions coming. I'm happy to answer them, and we will do another video.